Hey, it's Barb from Wonderful Works. Today we're going to talk about dyslexia and the church. And we talk to a lot of people who have dyslexia and learn something important. Dyslexia is more than just being about reading. It actually affects a person's whole life. And we also learn that when other people take the time to learn about dyslexia, that changes lives too. So today, as you watch this, we hope you'll remember that this is more than just a list of practical tips for the church. This is a reminder that every person that God puts in your path deserves to be loved and accepted and understood just as they are. So glad you're here today. Hey there, are you okay? You don't look so good. Oh, your teacher just called on you to read to the class, but reading's hard for you? And now you wish you could just disappear? How can we make this better? So no one wants to create an environment where students feel like they want to disappear. After all, church should be a place where people feel loved, safe, and celebrated. But what happens to people who have learning differences when the way we teach them doesn't work with the way they learn? Hidden disabilities in the church, dyslexia. Dyslexia is a specific learning disability that is neurobiological in origin and is characterized by difficulties with accurate or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities. Many people believe that dyslexia is about seeing letters backwards, but that's not correct. People with dyslexia see the same as everyone else. Dyslexia is actually caused by a phonological processing problem, which means that the challenge is not with seeing language, but with decoding it. And here's something else to know. No two people experience it in the same way. Dyslexia is part of a continuum, meaning that the severity and symptoms vary from person to person. Some people may have mild reading issues, while others may have a very difficult time with reading. And some may also experience challenges with working memory, word retrieval, and processing new information quickly. It's also common for ADHD, dysgraphia, or dyscalculia to be present. Dyslexia does not affect intelligence. Most people have average to above average to really above average IQs. So what does all this have to do with church? Well, we talked to people with dyslexia and asked them how can churches better support students with dyslexia. Turns out they had a lot to teach us. Number 1, don't put students on the spot. The most popular request we heard was this: don't put students on the spot. For people with dyslexia, being called on to read out loud isn't just hard, it can be humiliating. One person described her experience like this: when she's asked to read out loud, her whole body tenses up. She begins to sweat and wishes she could run away. She said that when everyone's looking at her, her brain actually freezes up, which makes reading feel impossible. She said the experience could feel traumatic, and she wasn't alone. Another agreed that being put on the spot to read out loud felt traumatizing because of the amount of shame she felt when she struggled. Shame and feelings of low self-esteem are common for people who learn differently when they're put in situations that don't support their needs, and these feelings can be hard to shake. So what can we do instead? First, understand that introducing the Bible to students is important, but when it comes to reading it out loud, only call on students who volunteer. Or if you're going around the room where each student is expected to take a turn, just be sure to let them know before you start that if they don't want to read out loud, they can just say pass. Then respect that if a student chooses to pass. And one more tip, remember how we said that dyslexia sometimes has symptoms beyond just reading, like working memory, word recall, and processing speed? That means some students may also have a difficult time being called on unexpectedly to answer a question. So if you see a student who's not paying attention to the lesson, instead of putting them on the spot, find a different way to get them involved. Number 2, look at your slides. First, let me be clear. Dyslexia is an issue with language, not vision. So picking the right font is not a treatment for dyslexia. But the truth is some fonts can make things like slides harder to read. Like choosing those that are italicized or those that run together, and adding in fancy backgrounds can make it even harder. So why not make things easier? When you make your slides, try a sans serif font, short phrases, and lots of white space, because keeping things simple is simply what's best for everyone. Number 3, Teach students how they learn. Everyone can learn, but not everyone learns the same way. And when students with dyslexia are repeatedly asked to learn by reading and writing, this can actually make church feel stressful for the whole family. So if a family reaches out to you to let you know that their child needs other options, please listen and be flexible. If you notice a student disengages every time he gets a worksheet, ask him to draw what he learned instead. Or if a child acts out when it's time to memorize Bible verses, try adding music and movement with it. And praise for effort, not results, on the memorization. And for older students or adults, if you want to do a group book study, look for a book that has an ebook version with an option for audio. And don't forget to share resources with parents. Audio, video, and graphic novel-style Bibles and Bible stories are now available for students to continue learning at home. Well, I think we learned a lot about how the church can help students with dyslexia, but there's one more thing before you go. Remember how people shared that having so much focus put on their challenges could feel shameful and make them want to disappear? Well, how about we start focusing on the good stuff instead? This week, if you have students who learn differently, make it a point to know what they're good at. Then create opportunities for them to share their gifts with the class, because it's time that all of our students had a chance to shine. Thanks for joining us today. See you next time.